But
And just
listen,
know, it's literally, this is not a bit. It's literally not done. So to be honest, what really happened, we were like, we're gonna show the movie, and the studio was like, no, you're gonna show 20 minutes. So we're like, no, we're gonna show the movie. And they're like, it's not done. And I was like, they don't care. They're like, if everything's not perfect and it's not done, and what if we're gonna change things? I was like,
Want it to go
I literally
well.
brought the movie with me on the airplane. Like I have like a folder with like a disc, like a hard drive.
Hey friends, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. It is Wednesday, February 19th, 2025. Is Blake Lively indirectly accusing content creators like me of being a part of the conspiracy to take her down and smear her? Well, yes, she is. And I'm taking notice and specific issue with a part of her new amended complaint because a video reel that I shared on Instagram has amassed more than 5 million views. As a result of my video going viral, numerous media outlets, including Us Weekly and Daily Mail, picked up my Instagram video and published a story about what was contained in the video. The video was of Blake Lively discussing at an event with Colleen Hoover that she had taken a copy of the film It Ends With Us with her to the event against the direction of the studio and without their permission. She's accusing content creators of like me of being seeded this information by Justin Baldoni's team. And then somehow my content was then leaked to the Daily Mail for them to pick up as though it was some sort of conspiracy. I want to share with you what her claims are in her new amended complaint about this alleged conspiracy she believes is happening between content creators like me and the Daily Mail. I want to just also be very clear that at no time, at any time during this process, have I spoken to anyone affiliated with Wayfarer Studios, Justin Baldoni, his defense team, or anyone associated with Blake Lively or Ryan Reynolds. I have spoken to literally no one. But I have spoken to other people that have been accused in this process of being a part of the smear campaign. I also want to note that I've never spoken to any journalist in the last year about Blake Lively from Daily Mail, TMZ, BuzzFeed, New York Post, Newsweek, Page Six, any of the like. So in her amended complaint, she believes that this is what she writes. On information and belief, Wayfair team seeded social media content with content creators on online chat sites like Reddit and into publications with small audiences and lax editorial standards. The team would then amplify that content by sharing them with publications like Page Six, the Daily Mail, Newsweek, New York Post, TMZ, and BuzzFeed. These publications have larger audiences and greater reach, which significantly increase the negative sentiment toward Miss Lively. Content from low influence sites was often linked or referenced in articles on these high influence platforms. The social manipulation campaign engineered by Mr. Baldoni and Wayfair create and sustain a negative news cycle and social media algorithm around Miss Lively. Throughout her amended complaint, she really is trying to project that this smear campaign is a coordinated effort, that her involvement in the film and editing the film was not a takeover, that she didn't actually profit any more than anyone else, that that's a red herring, that all of this negativity that she is receiving is the product of Baldoni and his team. The problem is that there are plenty of people on social media like me that dig through archives of records, read the court records, look through the documents, look at the patterns, the history, the evidence, and form their own opinions. a lot of what she complains about in the amended complaint for hostility that she is receiving and backlash that she is receiving are results of documents filed in court and content creators like me responding to documents filed in court. So she files stuff in court, and then that is commented on social media, and the content that she's putting into the court records is not being received the way that she wants it to be received, and therefore content creators like me and others are somehow in on it with everyone else. I'm not ignorant to know that social manipulation happens, that there are agents online that try to sow seeds of doubt and try to get people to be swayed one way or the other. I will say that, at least for me, and I'm not mentioned at all in the complaint, but my video of 5.7 million views was referenced in the Daily Mail. And because she claims in her article that content creators like me are being seeded this information, that's false. I know other content creators have spoken out and said the exact same thing, that she had referenced their content in her previous complaint and stated that this video was posted because she was told to post it by Justin's team, which turned out to be false. Instead of Blake Lively taking ownership for the fact that she's the one or someone from her team leaked the CRD to the public into the New York Times, she deflects and accuses his side of then launching a retaliation campaign to her CRD complaint. It is though she is allowed to say whatever she wants, but no one else can respond. If she's going to file a lawsuit in court, they have a right to defend themselves. That's how the court system works. So she's going to accuse Justin's side now of defamation for defending themselves. She's going to call Justin's defense a smear campaign. Is a defense in court an actual smear campaign, or is it a defense? Defendants have a right to defend claims against them. They have a right to show evidence to refute the claims. And one way to defend against claims that are not true is to look at the credibility of the person that's making the complaint themselves. What I'm noticing about Blake here is that I was not on the set of this film. I don't know Justin Baldoni from anyone else. I don't know Blake. But what I do know is that Blake has a history of her own admitted statements of doing things to undermine sets, to take over films, because she feels like she needs to have authorship. She's not fulfilled enough as a actress. She wants to do more than act. That's not fulfilling for her. She's in interviews admitting that she lies to the press about things because they will not fact check.
They've never said, like never, ever, at Van City Reynolds is the next Martha Stewart. Here's the real secret behind this tweet. I made these cookies, and they were so bad, and I really pride myself. See, I talk about what a good baker I am and what a good cook I am, but it's great in interviews because nobody's actually trying your food, so they can't really fact check it. So everybody's like, oh, Blake, you're such a great chef. Tell me about that. And they have no idea what I can just be told.
She's also admitted previously in articles with Glamour that while on the set of Gossip Girl, she poisoned cast members against Penn Badgley after they hired him because she didn't like him and she wanted everyone on set to hate him too. And so she got everyone to hate him. And then later on, she figured out that she was wrong about him. But people were still influenced by her opinion. When someone tells you who they are and shows you who they are, you have to believe them. And so when you read her complaint, you have to look at it through the lens of what has she done in the past? Can we believe these allegations? She's going to have to prove this in a court of law. In the court of public opinion, based on her previous track record, people aren't believing her. And now she's weaponizing content creators and public and saying that we're all in on it with Baldoni. A lot of us don't really know who Baldoni is and don't really care about who Baldoni is, but we do know that some of the statements she's making don't match the reality. So, in fact, Blake Lively seemed to believe this was a smear campaign organized in August. She decided this before there was any evidence to support her allegations. In her amended complaint, she writes, On August 11th, 2024, Miss Lively received a message from another cast member making observations regarding the evident smear campaign against Miss Lively, and the cast was insane. Miss Lively responded, "Yeah, I'm legitimately depressed and heartbroken, like in an immense amount of pain. I'm sorry it's being aimed at all of us, you included." So she's telling them and making them feel like they're being attacked too, and she's making them believe there's a smear campaign. Is there a smear campaign? She's gonna have to prove that in court. Right now, I don't think it looks like that. But she also cites an email that she sent to Christy Hall, who's the screenwriter of the film. Blake Lively's behavior of trying to influence people to turn them against people is her own admission. So when I see text messages of her calling Justin an evil sociopath, it makes me wonder, is she trying to poison them? These are the things a jury's going to have to decide. I'm just someone, a layperson out here looking at the totality of situations. But it does appear that when she gets into sticky situations, like trying to claim authorship of scenes that she may or may not have written and claiming to be a writer of this film when she was not, that actually impacts directly the people that wrote the film. There was an actual screenwriter for this film. I'm not sure if you're aware. She would like you to believe, Blake, that she and her husband were amazing writers and contributors to this film. But Christy Hall is the screenwriter that came up with this film and helped Wayfair develop this book into a film. And Christy Hall was forced to answer questions about Blake Lively's claims that she wrote the rooftop scene. And on the red carpet, Blake said that her husband actually wrote the rooftop scene. Christy on the red carpet said she wrote the rooftop scene. This resulted in Blake sending an email to Christy to try to diffuse the situation. Let me show you what Christy said about the rooftop scene.
And so my first crack at it, it was like a 10-page scene, which is a little impossible. Question became, what do we keep? What do we shave off? There's a lot of heavy lifting in that scene, and I'm so proud to the performers for really, there's just a lot of things that have to happen in that scene. He's kicking over a chair all the way to like them starting to get a little intimate. So on the page, it took a long time to get right, and then I have to say, like, Justin and Blake just killed it.
When Blake saw the script, she didn't like the way that the rooftop scene was written. She didn't like the way that Christy Hall's scene was written, so she wanted to rewrite the script. She wanted to rewrite it. So she wanted to take the work of Christy and make it her own. Like she said in the past, she wants authorship. So Christy very succinctly says that the hardest scene for her to write was the rooftop scene because in the book, if you've read the book, it's a very long chapter. A lot happens. And you don't have that much time in a film. And she said they had to drill it down, decide what they were going to keep and not keep, and then the performers killed their performance and knocked it out. At no place does she say the rooftop scene was written by Ryan Reynolds, because it wasn't. The rooftop scene was written by Christy Hall. Ryan Reynolds is not credited as an author of the scene. So when this all happens, Blake has to get ahead of this. She needs to deflect. She needs to get Christy on her side. So she writes in the complaint, on the same day, Miss Lively reached out to the film's screenwriter, Christy Hall. After she was questioned about an impromptu comment Miss Lively made about Mr. Reynolds' input on the rooftop scene in the film, Miss Lively expressed a heartfelt apology that her comment resulted in questions to Miss Hall, which Miss Hall graciously accepted, sharing that she did not take Miss Lively's comment personally. At the same time, Mr. Baldoni and Mr. Sarowitz were scheming with their crisis PR team to find a way to exploit this moment to flip the narrative and paint Mr. Reynolds as anti-feminist. The video I showed you was from Christy Hall on the red carpet. Then People magazine did an article because Blake Lively on the red carpet later said that Ryan wrote the scene. Well, that got picked up by People, and then People spoke directly to Christy to find out, did she or did Ryan write the scene? And this is where Blake tried to get ahead and do damage control. So they said, this is what it says. The film screenwriter Christy Hall tells people the specific scene was probably the trickiest one to tackle because it is perfect in the novel. My first attempt at the scene, I really tried to just honor what Colleen wrote, almost word for word. I really, really tried because I just think she did it best. What's tricky about the scene is it's long. I am very proud of my work, and I do feel like the beats that needed to be honored in that scene are preserved and they're there. Again, Colleen did it best and she did it first, and it's from her. I do think that scene is a really beautiful reflection of what she penned from the beginning. Hall says she wasn't aware Reynolds had contributed to the dialogue used in the final version of the sequence. She said, there are a couple of little things that I thought had been improvised. Like when he says, pretty please with a cherry on top, and she talks about the maraschino cherries. When I saw a cut, I was like, oh, that's cute. That must have been a cute improvised thing. So if I'm being told that Ryan wrote that, then great. How wonderful. Were a few little flourishes that I did not write, but I assumed they were being improvised on set. But again, like I said, the moments that I felt like needed to be honored are there. So I recognize the scene and I'm proud of the scene. And if those flourishes came from Ryan, I think that's wonderful. Christy Hall is not a defendant in this case. Christy Hall clearly in that article is stating she wrote the scene, that there was what appeared to be improvisation that happened, which now Blake is claiming Ryan wrote. Personally, the maraschino cherry part of that scene is so cheesy. It wasn't part of the book. It felt really like they were trying to put a bit into it to make it funny that didn't need to be there. But Blake saw that article and she viewed that like she was getting smeared, like they were trying to pit Christy and Ryan against each other, or that Blake's credibility was being placed in doubt. The question to Christy would never have had to be made had Blake not made the statement on the red carpet. That's first and foremost. So what she included in the complaint is her email to Christy. And this is what she wrote. I heard you were ambushed at your junket with a question about something I said on the red carpet. I feel awful. I never would have said anything that I thought could be used against you or anyone. I was just proud of my partner and feeling grateful for the ways in which he shows up for me. I firmly believe that two things can be true. This case, he can show up for me and do great work doing so, and you can do great work, which got us all here. But the media will make things more black and white, and I should have seen that before speaking off the cuff. I was frazzled for a multitude of reasons that you may know something about or not. But in the moment, all I was trying to focus on was love and positivity. And the key source of that for me is my family, which is why it was a crutch for me to talk about him. I was mortified that translated with regard to you, though. I pride myself in being thoughtful and trying not to step in landmines, but I did. Such an avoidable own goal. And I'm so sorry for any upset or hurt it may have caused you or left you feeling badly in any way. That was never my intention. I was thinking about audiences loving real life love, and seeing that on screen is inspiring. I should have been holding all of that and you while speaking publicly, and I didn't do that. I'm sorry. I spoke about you during the many days of junkets, and of course, the one that gets shared back to you is the one where I give my husband credit for the invisible work he did on this movie. I quite literally could not have gotten through it without him in every way, but that's not your bag to carry. And somehow it was, if even for a moment. So she's like implying that there was stuff that happened on the set that Christy might not have known about, which is weird and not necessary for what she said. And she's making her own mistake of publicly taking credit for a scene that she didn't write. And Christy stating that there was minor changes that were added, which she believed were improvisations. And she's turning that into, my husband wrote it and I was proud of him and I thought the audience wanted to see that. I'm sorry, but I was flustered because of the evil sociopath, fill in the blank, and I'm so sorry. And then she claims that just that Christy accepted her apology, but she doesn't show Christy's response whatsoever. When I noticed that Blake was blaming content creators for putting bits out and amplifying that into articles, and then this is given as an example within the same few pages of an issue that happened between her and Christy based on her own statements. Blake's lack of awareness, or maybe she has a lot of awareness of her visibility here, contributes to the problem. And she's the issue with the rooftop scene wouldn't have had to be an issue if she didn't have an ego, right? If she didn't feel like her contributions needed to be seen more than being just an actress. She wanted to have some authorship here. But the problem was is there was an actual author that wrote the book and an actual screenwriter that wrote the screenplay. So it's very similar to how she's going after content creators. And while again, I am not named at all in this lawsuit, I noticed plenty of linked accounts on Instagram of nameless faces, of comments being made by public people that are now in a huge lawsuit at with no discretion, with no thought that these creators or these people that are leaving these comments are real people that have real feelings and real emotions and are entitled to leave comments and may or may not be a bot and aren't bots. Some of the comments she's posting in here are just by people like you and me leaving a comment on a page, but it's being fueled like every single person, whether it's Christy Hall, who's asked to comment with People Magazine, right, about what Blake said, or content creators posting videos like me, or comments that you guys are leaving, we're all in on it together. And it just doesn't make sense. And while she's doing all of these things, every interaction it appears that she's having with people, she's reminding people how evil Justin is, and it has to be a smear campaign that's happening against her, not recognizing that she's the one that's creating the shitstorm to begin with. I don't know what happened on scene on the set. I don't know. I wasn't there, so I can't speak to that. But what I can speak to is that I've worked with a lot of the content creators on YouTube. I've spoken to some of the content creators that have been pulled into this, and I know that innocent people are getting used like weapons in her vendetta against Justin. And that's ridiculous. If at any point I show up in her lawsuit, I'll lose my marbles because just because I'm a low influence creator, and I find that highly offensive to call someone that doesn't have A-list status or is doing independent journalism, like any of these content creators out there that were low level and low influence, and then higher influence places like Daily Mail pick it up. It's just reminding all of us that we're all less than her, right? And so we're all so stupid and ignorant, so we must not know any better. And that's just, again, not going to help the public narrative against her. Blake is sometimes her own worst problem. But I'll go on record and say, Blake, I'm not being influenced by anyone but you, by your behavior and your responses to all of this. And claiming that you're getting smeared publicly, but while also admitting your attorneys are responding to stuff in the press. HR complaints are getting leaked online. Things are happening that are being leaked that you're leaking, and you're doing it too. So it's going both ways. Is it him getting a smear campaign and he's just defending himself, or are you the one that's launching the smear campaign and you're the one doing all of this? That's going to be the question for the jury. But I know that I had nothing to do with it. If the Daily Mail or any outlet picks up my stuff, I have nothing to do with it. Most content creators have nothing to do with it. Most journalists follow us low influence people because us low influence people are often the first ones talking about things before the media sees it, Blake. So, what are your thoughts about all of this? Tell me in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed, and click the bell so you never miss a video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye, guys.